Good evening. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see so many of you here participating in the public process. I'm very grateful for that, as the other commissioners are as well as our city staff. I'm calling to order the Monday, May 12th, 2025 regular scheduled City of Clemson Planning Commission meeting. The meeting is being live streamed and recording on the City of Clemson's YouTube channel. I'd like to remind everybody the Planning Commission is a volunteer committee appointed by your city council and serves as an advisory board in the planning and development of our city. We're not employees of the City of Clemson. At this time, I'd like to introduce our commissioners so you know who they are. Mr. Benji Cumney, Commissioner Tanya Hyatt, Vice Chair Greg Rice, Commissioner Brian Yoder, Commissioner Charlie Kernigan, Commissioner John Crowley. I'd like to also introduce to you from our city staff, Art Holbrooks, City Planner, Jacob Peabody, who's our zoning administrator, Nathan Woods, who's the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Clemson. And we can never do this without our Secretary, Ms. Kelly Roche over here in the IT department for all of their support in doing this. My name's Herb Tyler, and I'm the chair of the commission this year, and we do have a quorum. At this time, and there is a procedure, I'm going to explain the procedures because I've already had some questions about the process and how Planning Commission works. So this is a little bit of deviation, but I think everybody needs to understand the process and how it works. When we come here, each of you, the agenda is published prior to this meeting, and it should be sent out. If you do not have that and you want emails, go to the City of Clemson website and sign up for My Civic app and get added to the email list. And every time there's a meeting, you'll get sent the material. The process, and you will see this on our schedule today, is we will have a public session. This public session initially is only for things within our purview that are not listed on the agenda. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. The second thing is we'll go into some procedures of our past meetings and things like that. And then tonight on our agenda, we have a workshop. Workshops are where we hear from people who are proposing something. This is the first time, for instance, 398 is our workshop tonight. This does not include a period of public comment. Now, I'm going to speak to that because I don't want to see everybody not understanding what goes on. Each development goes through the same process, okay? And we'll have a workshop tonight because this is the first time we're hearing from the developers, hearing the concept. You'll get to hear the same thing that we hear, and that's why I'm glad you're here. But there will be no public comment on that. Next Planning Commission meeting, we will host an informal discussion between the public and the developers. Okay? That's what will happen next time. Then after that, it can go to an optional workshop, and then till it's time to take a formal action. But the other items on the agenda tonight, you'll say action items. So there is a proposed plan development, the Varsity 3, that has been before us for several months, and a lot of work's been done on that. And then a proposed text amendment that has come before us, 2 of those. And then we'll ask for any advisory items. Does that make sense of how this process works? And then we are an advisory body, and then whatever action, when actions are taken, those are sent to City Council, and there's another process that goes through each of those things. So thank you for allowing me to explain that. And we're going to go ahead and open up the public session part of this, for anything that's not on the agenda within our purview, here's what we'd ask you to do. Come to the podium, sign in, and please print so Ms. Kelly can read it and be able to publish our minutes. And we'll take time for that. So I'm going to go ahead and call to order the public session of this meeting right now. Is there anybody who has anything that's not on the agenda in any way, shape, or form, any public comments? Please come to the podium.
May I just ask a question?
Please come to the podium.
Well, the only question is the workshop part of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, that was it.
So to make a comment regarding the Plan 398.
No, not tonight. Tonight, because we don't know anything about it, this is a workshop where we are being introduced. We've seen the same thing that you have. Workshops do not contain public comment. That will be done. That's why I was trying to tell you the process. That's done in the next session. It's done in the next session, and you will have those opportunities to do that. Also, you can write in, and all of those will be reviewed. Yes, ma'am.
This is a presentation from the developer, right?
Yes.
Can we make sure that the developer explain exactly what the development requires from the city to be changed? I mean, zoning
That's
change?
not, tonight is not the night for that. Tonight is an information session for us as planning commissioners because we have never met them. I am taking a little more latitude here and trying to explain this to you, but there will be opportunity for all of those things.
So it's not important for the city if the developer requires any change? Because for me, if I was part of the city, I would ask them as part of the presentation.
And you know what? We will get to that. The Planning Commission we will ask questions. You'll hear questions from us to the developer, but the public at this point is not, because how can we talk about something we know nothing about? This will be the last question that I'll answer.
Yeah, my name is Alan Hodges, longtime resident, 100 Strode Circle, corner of Ridge Drive. One of my big concerns lately is stormwater.
I'm sorry?
Stormwater
Okay.
issues.
Did you sign in, Mr.
I will
Hodges?
do that. This afternoon, we had a very heavy downpour, and my property at the corner of Riggs and Strode is, and also on the property, I guess it would be considered 101 Strode, is a vacant lot on Knox Road, directly behind Hubbard Young's driveway and between what do we call 412 College Avenue. Due to the heavy rains today, there was an extreme amount of dirty brown muck flowing down Knox Road down to Strode Circle. Stormwater in Clemson apparently means whatever goes into the creek or runs down the road is our stormwater outlets. So I called the gentleman from Stormwater and he came out and I saw a city truck driving up the Knox Road and Hubbard Young parking lot, the rear exit of that onto Knox was just covered with muck, which promptly flowed down Knox Road onto a small drain on Strode Circle right in front of my house. So, plus the creek in my backyard drains all the way from Highway 76, Woodland Way, Mitchell Drive, Riggs Drive, Strode Circle, onto Riggs and underneath this proposed property. My yard has flooded in past years due to high water on Lake Hartwell. We can't control, the Corps of Engineers level the lake, and sometimes if it's high level, water does back up into J.C. Park, underneath College Avenue into my yard. We did put a new culvert in during the sewer process, but still, I'm not sure that's going to be big enough to alleviate the problem. When the Lake Hartwell is up, a rain like this or a rain like Hurricane Helene would flood my yard and anything downstream from that. So I'm really concerned about stormwater in our area. Any
Okay.
questions there? I can show you some pictures from flooding.
You sent in some comments, we've seen those. Each commissioner here have seen them, but we appreciate your comments on stormwater during this session. Thank you so much for your comments. That's really not in our purview, but we will make sure that that gets to the right people. And that you make very valid points. Thank you so much.
But stormwater is not something, like big shiny buildings are nice, but the water's gotta go somewhere.
Understood.
All right,
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? At this time, I'm going to close the public session. Now we move on to the adoption of minutes from our April 14th, 2025 regular meeting. Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to review the meeting minutes? Any corrections, deletions, omissions, or anything that of note? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we adopt the meetings from the Monday, April 14th meeting.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Adopted. Now, we're going to go and have a plan development concept presentation workshop. Before we do that, I have asked Nathan to be able to come here tonight and give us clarity of how we got to this point, the history, and of any meetings that have taken place between the city and the planning staff here. So everybody is fully informed of this process and that we're fully informed here.
Certainly. Yeah, certainly, thank you. I'd like to remind the Planning Commission and the public that the Planning Department remains neutral and unprejudiced to all developments. Our task is to give developers, landowners, and the public their due process, and that due process starts tonight with this meeting concerning this development at 398 College. Unfortunately, I see now that you can't see this very well on the screen, but the first block is about the property assemblage, and I wanted to talk about the landowner here began assembling the properties concerned in this development in 2017. He completed that in August of 2023. As far as zoning in the area, this entire stretch used to be zoned CP1. We amended that in August of 2014 to commercial mixed use, which is our CM district, as it is now. The city created that zoning district to encourage mixed use along College Avenue. And then there seems to be, from time to time, some concern or discussion about the transparency of development meetings between my staff and developers. And I went through emails and calendars to just lay it all out for you. We first talked to the developer president this evening, and we were first contacted by them on February 7th of 2025. We met with them for the first time on the 13th of February of 2025. Throughout March, we emailed back and forth a few times. Same in April. We had a follow-up meeting on April 10th that was a Google Meet, and that continued until we received the formal application from this developer on April 21st, which led us to the meeting this evening. So those are 12 points of contact between the developer and my staff before we reached this evening, which is a pretty typical process. Actually, a lot of times it's more, but I just wanted to, for Planning Commission and the public to understand that before we get here, even to the conceptual phase, there's a lot of conversation back and forth, not to mention the conversations that will happen after this with our stormwater engineer and our city engineer and our public works department and our utilities department, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if this were to go forward in any capacity. So with that groundwork tonight, if you know how we got here, I'm fine to turn it over to the developer to let them speak if that's what you would like to do, Chairman.
That's what we would like to do. So if we could have an introduction, if y'all would come up and introduce yourselves and who you are.
Can you sign it?
No.
Good evening. My name is Mauricio Bisbal. I am a development manager for LD Collective, developer for this PD phase at 398 College Ave.
Can you try to speak louder, please?
First, I want to start a little bit about ourselves. Our mission is to create experience-based environments that encourage personal growth and foster the formation of relationships and memories that will last a lifetime for our students. As you can see, we are a student housing developer based out of Austin, Texas, with a national footprint. We have been named #1 student housing developer over the last couple of years and have over $6 billion of developed and planned projects throughout the nation. A little bit about our approach. Ground floor activation is one of the most important things in our projects. Here are some examples from Austin and Atlanta projects. We do this with the creation of a cafe that's adjacent to our lobbies that flows people into the building and into our lobbies. So our lobbies are open to the public, not just for our residents, so it's open to the lobby. Usually creating a really active atmosphere. Here's some examples from our cafe. It's labeled Daydreamer Cafe. Some examples here in Austin and Atlanta as well. We have partnered with an award-winning barista from Austin that has helped us create this and make this possible. We have opened and launched in Atlanta, Gainesville, Phoenix, and Austin. Another emphasis from our projects is health and wellness. You'll see fitness, very usual for student housing, but a big part of our project is going to be wellness, which is always taking the forefront and going to take a special moment in our buildings, which you'll see in the design. Lastly, co-working spaces or study spaces are usually a big part of our projects as well. Usually overflowing from the lobbies and creating that energy and really creating spaces for students to meet up and really study what they're here for. Here's some examples again from Atlanta, Austin, and public realm design is what we call the first 2 floors of our project. Is what touches the street. It's the front door. We take pride on this and really spend a lot of time with our architects, interior designers, and landscape architects to bring quality projects that really activate the street and make a quality project. Here are some examples from some previous projects, either under construction or built or under development right now. Some long list of awards and recognitions from our peers in the industry, from several different industries. Won't go through these for time's sake. A little bit from our portfolio, some previous projects that are either under construction or development in similar scales. You can see the quality as well. Jumping to the project, introducing the team, the owner-developer ourselves, LD Collective, the architect, Niles Bolton Associates from Atlanta, not present today, and civil engineer, Kimley Horn, sitting here with us as well. A quick snapshot of the timeline. We started this project early in the year. As Nathan mentioned, we met with them early in the year, took their comments, went back to some rethinking and redesign, and ultimately came back later in April, to present the project that you have here today in red, where we are today. We're hoping to get through the entitlement and approval through the rest of the year, and really groundbreaking Q3 of next year for completion of the project in 2028. The site location, very walkable, very bikeable, as you all know, and it will only get even more bikeable and walkable with all improvements planned for College Avenue. Looking at what's there today, as you can see, it's a 2-parcel project. To the right, we have the main parcel with mostly sitting vacant. There's some space that's being used, but Yeah, noting that, and then on the left is where we got the majority of our active retail is in that parcel to the north of Strode Circle. Additionally, want to highlight the amount of topography in the site. You may all know, as you drive by the site, you see this, it's over 20 feet of grade change from the highest point to the lowest point, which creates very intricate and difficult conditions, so you'll see through the design here. Lastly, what I highlight is stormwater, as people have already mentioned. We understand the stormwater in the site, and you'll see that evolve into the project as well. At a very high level, the project is a 3.7 acre site, 6,200 square feet of retail, 718 beds in 216 units, 379 resident-only parking spaces, and an additional 150 public parking spaces. Jumping over to the concept plan, as I mentioned, first thing I want to highlight here is the stormwater and the stream preservation in its current condition, along with some grove of trees. Not only preservation, but really celebration with the design. We're really trying to nestle this project as much as we can within the existing stream, in a similar way to the way that house sits there today. So that nub of the building that jogs into the stream is where the majority or some of the amenities sit, really nestling into the nature. The remaining of the amenity, or the louder amenities, go into the roof here, the rooftop of the garage. So the entire project wraps around a precast garage, as you can see. So with units around and an additional courtyard to the back. The remaining side here facing college, all the public facing part of the project where we will see a cafe that I spoke of earlier and an additional retail space. The cafe acts as a standalone, but it's also open from day one with this project. So it minimizes the amount of potentially empty retail. To the north of Strode Circles, then we see on the main parcel, we're looking at 670 beds in that main parcel, and the majority of the parking sitting there in that precast garage. To the north of Strode Circle, then we see a set of townhome-looking units. This would be a lower scale development with at-grade parking. And looking at 50 beds there. It's really a 2-story unit over a single-story studio, so it's technically apartments, but it'll look and feel like a townhome. We'll jump through the plans quickly. Going to the lower level, this is a partial basement where you see we'll see some units in here, but the main part of this level is that study co-working space nestled into the stream and into the existing vegetation, really trying to keep these kind of quieter spaces into that nature feeling grove. As we go up, this is where we get the front door. We get in pink is the main lobby, and then in purple we got the cafe, and to the right the remaining third-party retail. All this fronting College Avenue. As we go one level up, this is where we get the garage entry. So again, the great difference. We're at level 2. This is where we enter garage. We enter to the public portion of the garage, and as we drive up half a story, you'll find a gate where it turns then into a private resident parking. The remaining of the garage driving down is all public. In this level, we'll find some of the back of house spaces and residential units to the back. Quickly on the typical residential unit, and then as we move up, again, this our emphasis on wealth and health and wellness. The wellness center at the very top next to the deck, overlooking those trees, overlooking the stream. So again, celebrating that stream, that nature, that natural feature. And at the very rooftop, we will see an amenity with a pool, really trying to place all those closer to the College Avenue frontage. Want to provide a couple of sections to see this in context with the current built youth center to the very right, that's the gray box to the right. The gray box to the very left is what's under construction right now for MODA. So you'll see how this fits into context from a scale perspective. And then looking at some additional views and section to the residential neighborhood in the back. I know there may be some concern on this, but we have really created or added some additional buffer on the backside for this. So along the ridge, we'll see a roughly 30-foot setback from the building to the property line, which really equates to over 100 feet from the closest residence back there. Same goes to the very back. There is another green space, really creating a good buffer space between the building and the residential neighborhood, again, with the closest residence roughly around 100 feet from the building. And lastly, want to show the context view, an aerial, what this can start to feel like. Again, in context with youth center to the right, MODA to the left, the townhomes here in the left side, and the main parcels in the very middle. Lastly, just want to go over some community benefits that we're looking at here. 150 public parking spaces, which in our conversations with staff is understood that it's a very important need of the city here in downtown. Over 6,200 square feet of retail, part of 2,400 of which will be open from day one by the Daydreamer Cafe that was mentioned earlier, and really the stream preservation and really celebration with this project along with the trees and the nature. And with that, that's it. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you guys.
At this point, I'll just ask any commissioner members have any initial comments?
I just wanted to clarify one. You said what's labeled as the TH, the small development on the side, that's not townhomes, that's actually just apartments? I think it's 2-bedroom on top and studio on the bottom?
Correct. So it's technically apartments, but it'll look and feel like a townhome.
Okay.
It's a 3-story structure.
Is it rent by the bedroom or rent by the townhome?
It would be rent by the bedroom, just like the main building would.
Yes, go ahead.
The cafe is it independent of the development? How does the cafe work? When it's open day one, is it?
Correct. So it's independent, but we are partnered with the barista, and this cafe goes in every project that we build nationwide. The cafe does open up to the lobby, so during normal operation hours, anyone going to the cafe can trickle itself into the lobby, creating a really active and public space. After hours, the cafe shuts down, and the lobby just works as a standard building.
Is that a leased type scenario too?
Leased?
Yeah, just the duration for that, is it the duration of the development pretty much?
The duration of the building, correct.
The townhome scenario, is that a typical setup for how y'all do your projects?
We have done it before. In this case, the size of that site across the road just left us with not a lot of options. So we've decided to look at it this way for this project.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Hines.
So, in the retail space, you have the cafe and then you have the retail space. What are you anticipating in that retail space?
It would be for lease, so that's third party, and we would work with brokers to find a tenant for that space. It would be designed or built for it to work for any F&B, food and beverage establishment. So we'll want to make it as flexible as possible.
And then, I have a question maybe for Nathan. Are we still doing the $50 a square foot bond for completion of commercial space? Yeah, that's still,
That is a proposed ordinance in the code of ordinances. So a PD that would have to be written in, since a PD is its own standalone ordinance. There's been kind of 3 different models. We have that, bonding out for 150% of build-out costs, then MODA did a different one, and then HUB did yet a different one. So that, something like that can be written into a PD, but it's not automatic.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at that is MODA took a step in their PD, took a larger step in their PD, and then we kind of standardized it for regular developments just to try to tackle those vacancies. And Jacob's right, if we want to take a further step or model what we just put in the ordinance, it would have to be talked about with the developer and then negotiated into the PD.
because we want to make sure the retail space is filled. That's just one of our concerns. And then, is there a cat bus stop nearby? Like,
The campus goes down.
no, it doesn't even stop?
Victoria Square is the closest one, across from the post office.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, at the
There's
post
one
office?
across the street from
Yeah,
us,
right
actually.
there.
And then, a lot of times I assume you allow pets in your properties. So, a concern would be, and it seems like a very minor concern, but the neighbors nearby, we do not want residents walking their dogs and, going to the bathroom in their yards, and because it ends up being 783 people or something doing that. So, is there something that you can provide, like stations or something for dog cleanup? That's something that's an option, or is there a area they can walk their dog on your property?
Yeah.
And someone there clean it up, so the residents, it's a real concern, it happens,
Yeah.
so.
As part of our menu package, we will have like a dog spot, and it's like a cleaning and when the dogs come back, right? This project in itself has a lot of green space and a lot of opportunities for what you're saying. We can definitely entertain that, yes.
I think we've added it to the code for other developments where you have a set number of waste stations, basically, based on residents and things like that. Just to have them out there, so not just an area where they can walk, but if somebody takes their dog out and doesn't have a bag, it's, got the bag and the disposal and all that, because making that convenient increases the likelihood that people will clean up after their dogs.
And my other question was the sidewalks. Where are the sidewalks? It looks like there's brick in front, and then, are there sidewalks?
So right now, so along College, we're showing this conceptual right now, but it would be an extension of the College Avenue improvements that are already underway or under design.
It'll be required to do our downtown streetscape plan in this section of the.
What you're seeing as brick, that's an extension of it into the property right in front of retail and cafes. We're kind of working on lots of space opening up in the retail and the cafe spaces. Along the back, we would just defer to what the city's mandating there, what's there today.
Can you repeat that to us? The sidewalk along the back, describe that?
We would follow what the city would require us to do back there, or what's there today.
There's nothing there today.
We're about to install sidewalk along Riggs. That was approved recently.
It would be on our lot line, not on this commercial property line.
That's correct.
So the sidewalk would be on the residential side.
Due to neighborhood meetings and the neighborhood choosing it to be on that side of the street is why it's over there. But yes, they would, we would, as part of this, we would definitely talk about sidewalks along Strode, that area too.
I know we're not supposed to interject.
Okay,
but the
so let's
parking
don't.
spaces-
Let's don't. There will be a time, and I don't mean to be rude, but with this many people in the room tonight, if I allow one person in the workshop to do that, I have to allow everybody to do that. If we cannot follow the rules,
But part of the design does not include any sidewalks
Okay.
on the back section.
listen, this is not done. I am gonna say one more time to the public, respect the process. You will have opportunity, listen to me, you will be heard. You will have opportunity for input. You will have opportunity to express. We're hearing this for the first time here. If we cannot follow the rules, I will ask you one time, and then I'll have to ask you to leave. Does everybody understand? Can we respect the process? Okay.
So I have, about the sidewalks again. So part of the plan development could be like a negotiation to help with the sidewalks on Riggs Drive?
Plan
Or,
development negotiation can be whatever the planning commission would like for it to be, is in accordance with the developer agreeing to it.
okay, and then I said that was my last one. This will be my last one. The townhomes are facing, is there a reason, I don't have a preference, I just was curious, the parking lot's on the back side versus on the front side, how did you all decide that?
Yeah, it's more of an urban response. Front doors and front yards feel like a better way to address the city and to address the
Okay.
street than a parking lot.
Would you all consider making the townhomes fee simple and selling them off and leaving the rest of it as a development? Because we need, that would be a excellent place for young families, professors, so forth, to have townhomes in town, walking distance to the university, you know, that piece of the puzzle would be sold as onesies. The development be, it's, you know, the mixed-use part could still stay the same. It's just a question, I'm just curious if that's something that you would, I
Yeah,
know
we'll
that's,
have to take that back to the team to analyze it, and we could have a response for you for next time.
because that's something this town needs more than anything is, you know, in-town living spaces that are true houses or townhouses that a family or a young couple or so forth could live in. And it seems that that's sort of this, doesn't go with the rest of the project. Those people that live in there are not gonna enjoy what you built across the street as much, just because of the nature of where they are. So, I mean, you still get your money back probably, but it just is an idea, so.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
I've got a couple of just suggestions for you moving forward during this process. As Commissioner Hyde had mentioned, you know, kind of the way of the layout right there of those townhomes. I think it would be better suited, and you'd probably end up being a better neighbor to the business that's next door right there if you were to move those to the back there. I don't want to speak for that business owner or property owner. I think that he would probably be involved at some point in this process, I would expect. Look at adding additional parking. And also, just as the initial presentation, basically 3,700 square feet of commercial to me just doesn't, that's not going to do it for the city. Especially with the 2472 being basically a company that you all own, that is y'all's commercial. So I would look at trying to find ways to fit additional commercial in there. You guys, I saw the pictures, y'all are very creative. So I would recommend maybe working on some of that as well.
Any other thoughts or comments? Any of the other commissioners?
Expanding on Greg's thing for retail, I've been playing with, and this might be a place if it'll work. I have no idea what's involved, but if it did go forward at this height, kind of, if you would consider using rooftop retail or restaurant, something like that up there that might be something that's not every day, that would provide a draw into town, something that, you know, we've got great restaurants and stuff in town, but more of an experience type thing where people would drive in from a little bit further away, spend a little bit of money, come in for the day, we're gonna eat dinner there tonight, so we'll go for the day, do this there, come eat. I know you guys haven't set up as amenities for your residents right now, but just that might be a way of getting some more commercial into this project to even out the mix a little bit more.
Thanks.
Any comments, Commissioner? Any comments? Okay. At this point in time, I guess the one comment that I would have for you is to ask, have you ever considered, I too, much like Commissioner Rice, when I take a look at the retail space, have you ever considered, or would you ever consider, if this project went forward, maybe a market or downtown, uptown grocery environment for the city to use? Have y'all ever done anything like that? Is it something you would consider?
We have not done anything like that, but we can definitely look into it.
Okay. And I guess the one other thing that I looked at when I did this, another option is, and I'm not a designer at all, is moving that student study section up to level 2. And that would, again, open up some more retail space for you in that area and for people to enjoy that. That's the comments I have at this time. I think we're going to hear a lot from the public, as you can see here. They will have a lot of input into this, as they should. As you think about those things and different things that you've heard and feedback from Nathan and those, we ask that you go back and take a look at that as you come and prepare for the next session that we'll be hosting, which will be a discussion between you guys and the neighbors. We ask that you come prepared to listen and to hear.
That's it.
Is that good?
It's good. Appreciate your comments.
Okay. At this point in time, any other thoughts, commissioners, on the project?
I do have a thought, and I was like many of you in this room often come into these meetings, and I recommend that you review the final recommendations white paper of the Clemson Next Strategic Plan for Development, specifically page like 16, 17, just kind of looking through density and development. And we actually had a moratorium on high-density student housing, requested a strategic plan. This is what came back to us, and I'm a physical therapist by trade, so I have to look at what people that do planning and development say that Clemson needs. And so if you review that, it will help you better understand some of this high-density development and why it's coming here, even when we may not want it, you may not want it, but it explains it a little bit better. And I recommend reading all 58 pages, but definitely page 16.
So the thing that I would tell you is you can find that on our city website. There is a link to it. if for some reason you're looking for that and cannot find it, please call down to the planning department. They will help navigate you through that. This was Clemson Next. For those of you who may not know what that was, is there was a period of time and there was a long commission study with many meetings about the different areas of Clemson, the future development and plans where probably many of you were involved in it and went to the meetings and did that. And so that's where that recommendation and the final paper that was approved by council are moving forward and helping develop the city. So that's what she's referring to. But I don't want anybody who wants it not to be able to get it. So I am quite confident if you don't, please make the phone call so that can be gotten to you. Whatever information you need, you deserve to have it. So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Moving forward from here, we go into our action items. The first one, action item is, oh, hold on. Okay. So some people aren't going to stay for this. I'll let y'all go ahead and exit, and then we'll resume the meeting at that point.
In the website, they can listen to it easily on the website.
So we're going to go ahead, if we could ask if we could close that back door, please.
Kelly's getting it. Kelly's gonna get it.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on to the action items. The first action item is PUD 000-391-2025, the proposed plan development, Varsity 3. We'd like to ask that Mr. Silver come up and any updates and overviews. We've seen the package that you have presented. Have all the commissioners had the opportunity to review that prior to this? Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Tyler. Appreciate you all being here. Appreciate your service as usual, and everything you do for the city. So this is our third meeting. We've been here twice already. We took the month of April off after receiving comments after our second meeting. We submitted our ordinance and staff reviewed it, and we had a lot of comments, a lot of feedback, mostly to tighten it up, I would say. I wouldn't say that PDs aren't looked at closely on every occasion, but I think, in light of some of the recent activity in Clemson, this one was looked at particularly close to make sure the ordinance that you're looking at right now could be picked up by anybody, read through. When that project is done, you can take that document, go out there and say, yeah, this is what we approved, or at least this is what we recommended that went on to City Council for a vote. I'm not going to go through everything. As you've seen, the ordinance is upwards of 19 pages. Our exhibits, which are our drawings that were prepared by Seaman Whiteside, I think we have 8 or 10 drawings. I'm just going to talk about a few of the main items that came up since the second meeting that have been incorporated into this third submission. Buffer zones were looked at, that came up, they were looked at very closely. We have multiple buffer zone types depending on the adjacent property types, whether it's railroad tracks, neighbors, existing PDs that we butt up to. Intermodal trails were a big item that we talked about. A lot of connectivity between a bus stop that we're gonna install in front of the Bojangles, running up from the old Bilo site. When I say intermodal trails, I mean 10-foot wide concrete or asphalt trails that will help us create connectivity to both the bus stop and the university. We have added lighting in our parks, in our ribbon parks, that will be furnished and installed and maintained by the developer. We've made provisions for a future roundabout at the intersection of Summey and Newton, yep. We have excess parkland in excess of the 10% minimum required, upwards of an acre, that, as you can see, kind of on the north side here, that intermodal trail going around. We've made provisions for future easements to adjacent properties where development could take place in the future, or connected to the university. We're making provisions for bike share at the dedicated Singleton Park. Provisions meaning concrete pad, power for charging stations, things like that to help facilitate, hopefully spur. I know Jacob has had talks with the university about expanding their bike share program, and one of their, Jacob, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but one of their concerns was they want to do it, but they want to make sure there are provisions in place, and that includes those 10-foot wide trails going from the site, connecting out to Highway 93, which also, don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, I think the restriping of that has been talked about for several years now, and that might be moving forward, where we will get proper bike lanes down Highway 93 and further kind of reinforce our connectivity to, you know, the Green Crescent Trail, access to the university, things like that. We're pretty excited about being a part of that program as much as we can to really get people on bikes. We feel like our proximity to the university, about a mile away, is indeed a practical bike ride. It's not just, you know, some sort of concept. We feel strongly that that can be a big part of what we're doing. Talked about the sidewalks and the intermodal. We're up to about 72,000 square feet of sidewalk on the site. That's a lot of sidewalk, and that is in large part due to our you know, our intent to create a connected site and connecting out to 93 and hopefully, you know, keep cars off the road. Another item that came up, we're gonna restripe Newton Street, which goes in front of the Courtyard by Marriott out to Eggs Up Cafe. We're gonna give that some attention to ensure traffic goes out in the right lanes. The city engineer recommended putting up some signage that we agreed to do to limit left turns onto 93 during certain periods of the day where traffic is higher, to make sure traffic flows. The traffic chokers that we talked about in previous meetings, those are still gonna go in. And I think the last one, I mean, there were many, but these are the highlights, that we're still, you know, if we do get a positive recommendation, that we still will go through the Board of Architectural Review to let them, you know, we've kind of agreed to the size, the scale, but we do want them to have input and make sure we're listening to them and making sure that our building type and style is appropriate for the area. I think, you know, I do think we went down a little bit, if you guys noticed, a little bit fewer apartments, more townhouse buildings, so we you know, that was mostly on the south side. But really listened as well as we could. I don't know that there were any pinch points where we pushed back. I think the staff did a fantastic job of really looking at this. As Nathan said originally, it's not prejudice. However, I do, as much as you know, I've not been in the weeds on a PD in the city of Clemson before, but it both, you know, from a zoning staff level, from engineering, utilities, the parks folks, it was looked at very, very closely. We got a lot of feedback, and I believe we incorporated all of it. So, that's kind of what I got for you tonight. I think, I think this is similar to the one Clemson. I guess this is most recent, I guess what I would call a horizontal PD since one Clemson came through. And I would say our ordinance is more detailed. We've got more exhibits. One of the things Jacob and Art and Nathan really wanted to see were additional drawings. So you'll see, you might say, why are these drawings so redundant? But we really, again, wanted to make sure anybody could pick up this ordinance when it's done and understand for example, the parks. What are the limitations? What's the scope of the park? What's the scope of the walking area, the intermodal area? Each of them have their own dedicated drawing. Easement plans. We have easement plans, lighting plans, as you can see, details on the bus stop that we're going to install. Really, and I give a lot of credit to Seaman Whiteside. I know they do a lot of work with the city directly, and they did a great job for us helping on some of these details. A buffer zone drawing, which I don't know that anybody's done one before. So we really, like I said, it's a negotiation, and I don't know that I negotiated back real hard, but we're really proud of it, and we think we want it comes up time and again. It's a growing university, and it's vacant land, but we really want it to be the best looking product we can, be connected to the city, and that's all I got.
Well, that's good, and I appreciate you taking the comments and going back. At this time, we're going to take public comments before anything from the commissioners here. So at this point, this is an action item. Action will be taken tonight. Are there any public comments on the varsity proposal? Please come up and sign in, state your name and where you are, and
my name is Rebecca Bowman, and I have voiced my concerns prior about the traffic. And even though, I live on Wesley Street, we still have a lot of traffic that comes through, and they go by really fast. And my kids, we walk up and down the street, and my kids have almost been hit numerous times because they come flying around the curb. But also with that comes increased litter. There's nobody that lives between our house and the end of Hawthorne Street, but yet there's a ton of litter that we pick up just from people driving through. But my biggest thing is if you look at the deeds and the plats that are listed in this ordinance, the deed for Mr. Cannon's, the deed says that his lot is only 150 feet wide, but yet listed on the plat by, who was it? Mr. Mansfield, it has it listed as 174 feet. So the plat is incorrect. And so if you put the correct line there, this north west corner, the buffer zones and the easement would actually be on Clemson University Experimental Forest property. That's all I have to say about that.
thank you for your comments.
I'm Letitia White, that's Lettia. I'm a Clemson resident, and I'm very interested in the growth of our city. I've been involved in a lot of things over the years. I've only been a Clemson resident for 7 years, but historically, I am a military veteran with 23 years of experience and family that are very deeply involved in the Asheville-Buncombe County Commission in planning, development, and etc. So I greatly respect the process. What he was saying in regards to the metro lanes, I guess for the bicycles, the wide paths in order for commutability to make these areas more appealing to both the public and the people who will live there to be able to access things. I just wanted to bring to your attention, from having had previous experience in different cities, one of the things that worked in those cities is when you do the lighting, if you add to it security, because we don't have the manpower to necessarily control those sections. We already are limited in regards to what our police department can visualize as it is. And when you start adding these areas, which are a little more off the beaten path, but are meant to be utilized by public people, as we are growing, we're starting to see that some of the other outlying areas, some of the population that did not fulfill the Clemson persona, it's not what you visualize when you think to come to Clemson, are starting to roll in, and that's going to happen everywhere. But when you start having people who are in a homeless situation or a economic crisis situation or of some sort of addictive nature, they're going to look for easy targets, and so they will then utilize those very areas as sort of a predatory type nature. So I just would like to suggest, as a participant in the city and an interest into the development, I would love to see more of those avenues because of the cities that I've visited and lived in where those have been very successful. Unfortunately, I do own a home in Charlotte as well, and they have that bicycle electric scooter program, which is a nuisance. But Clemson can experiment with that on your own. I just would like to bring to your awareness that if you do add those things and you do illuminate it, that to help facilitate the security, as well as to piggyback what the young lady said in regards to traffic and litter, sometimes when you have that surveillance option, it helps to minimize that impact. And that could be something that could be easily added to your already existing police department, and maybe an additional hire to sit and watch a screen, to then notify you to where the problems really exist, as opposed to a bunch of people showing up at a meeting and having their own emotional feelings put out. But I do like that idea a great deal, of those making it more connective, because as the city is growing and you're consolidating what we have to access one population, those of us who would like to enjoy those amenities as well would like to be able to access them. And it's very difficult to access anything going on College Avenue. And when I heard the word buffer earlier,
20 seconds.
when I heard the word buffer earlier, I can appreciate that, but I don't know that the people developing are genuinely hearing what can be heard. If you've ever driven down College Avenue, it sounds like a frat party 24/7. I don't live in that section, so I don't have to deal with that, but buffers are definitely needed.
Thank you so much. Any other comments on the varsity proposal? Seeing that there are none, commissioners, any comments, thoughts as you look through this? The one thing as we get ready to get started, I mean, you know, Art, I'm not sure where to go with the comment on the plats and that being in Clemson experimental forest.
Private property type issue.
Say that one more.
Private property issue, so I mean, it's not, it would be something that the property owner would have to work out, and I'm sure the surveyor who did the plats.
We've got it, yeah, signed and sealed, and that's recorded at the county, and that's, I agree with that, Art, that's,
Right, but I was just a little bit confused because I've never dealt with that. I just want to make sure that's handled.
yeah, we're comfortable with the signed and sealed recorded survey that we're using.
Okay.
I don't know that that falls under our
So,
purview anyway.
Well, but it would be.
It would not, it
I
would
just
be.
want to make sure it's that buffer.
And, what are our options with like, what's, I don't even know if you would know the answer to this, but what are our options with like emergency call boxes? I know they're on university campuses, I mean,
Yeah, I was listening to that with a great deal of interest. That's something I'll have to,
research, because I don't want people just pulling them for the fun of it, you know what I mean?
that,
I don't know
for
if
sure.
that's a problem.
But in terms of surveillance, I'd have to talk to the police chief as well as our IT department. And they work in tandem to handle that type of stuff. I mean, we have cameras downtown, obviously. I'm not prepared to give an answer tonight, but I mean.
But even a call, like the,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think
press in case of an emergency kind
Yeah.
of thing, but.
And we have those somewhere on Green Crescent Trail, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember where in my head. I would leave it that if the developer is comfortable potentially exploring it in tandem with us in the future, like, those are, it doesn't have to be part of the PD, I guess what I'm saying. Those are items that we could add after the fact.
Nathan's right, we are currently exploring which model to use on the Green Crescent Trail. It basically might be more of a CD radio than anything. But there's different options of what you do, and I don't think the developer would object to us installing one.
Well, we're gonna install provisions for power at the bike share provisions we're doing, and we could, so I know something could be mounted, it might have to be a cellular situation, or, with our telecom infrastructure, if we could just run an empty conduit there, but I know that we're running power to the bike share, which would be up here near the where the site splits on Hawthorne, where we could, I think we agreed to, again, have power there, which is usually 90% of the battle when you're trying to communicate with and like you said, if there's a company that specializes in these swamp rabbit, remote trails, I'm sure the power is really what they're worried about.
Any other comments, commissioners? Seeing that?
Well, this is probably just housekeeping, and I don't even know that it's wrong, but on page 4, it says park shall be deed to the city, and I didn't know if we needed to add an ED to that. I don't know.
Just a typo.
Yeah, just typo.
City, the main 1.7 acre park, and then the balance of the park will have a dedicated easement for public use.
Yeah, there was one or two little typos in that sentence, and, well, I won't swear they're typos. When I read them, I was like, it sounded wrong in my head, so I figured I'd mention it.
We hit it hard, that's the only thing that's not well,
Yeah, I guess my only question would be is are you planning on putting in just the infrastructure for the bike share? You're not putting in the actual chargers or things of that nature, since it'll be deeded to the city eventually?
Not at this point, no. Because
just the infrastructure.
Again, it could go a lot of different ways. Not to speak on behalf of the city, but I think the ideal thing is a citywide share program. So, if the university, we're open to it, but it would be ideal to have it connected. You could ride from here and park at Lee Hall and, truly make it a bike share program that's practical. So we priced it, it's not, but again, we just want to wait and see what pokes its head at the top and go from there.
That is the ultimate goal, is to have a shared system with the university. It doesn't really work for us to have our own separate from the university. It makes no sense. The university has made it clear to us what we'd have to do on our end for them to partner with us. And it's, like you said, dedicated bike lanes all the way to and from the properties. That makes sense. They don't want, until 93 gets done, they don't want to be part of the system.
So again, just to be 100% clear, you are just installing the infrastructure for a potential installation in the future. That would be the city.
Correct.
Okay.
It's gonna have a
Okay.
pad, which we can coordinate,
Yeah.
make sure it meets this, that we're pouring one that meets
Yeah.
we could get a layout done, I'm sure, but make sure it's, functional, it's got power to it, as much as we can possibly do to get it ready for bikes.
Any other questions for commissioners? Seeing none, this is an action item. And do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we send a positive recommendation to City Council for PUD-0000391-2025, Varsity 3.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I just want to mention to you and make sure it's on the record, me personally, just the work that you've done back and forth. I appreciate your willingness to work with us. I know it's been a long process, but as we've mentioned several times on these, we want to make sure that everything, it's a co-working agreement that we've got, and everybody benefits from it. So thank you for your willingness to work with us on that and also with staff.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing that there's no more discussion, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Commissioner Cumney.
Vote in favor.
Commissioner Hyatt.
In favor.
Commissioner Rice. Yep. Commissioner Yoder.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernigan.
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler. Yes. At this point, we have voted to send a positive recommendation on this to City Council.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Good luck.
Thank you, staff, too.
Thank you.
Next action item, 2025R-01, proposed text amendment, arterial frontage fences. Jacob?
Okay, so this is the idea that we had presented to you guys at the last meeting regarding giving me the authority to allow for taller fences when a house has frontage on two roads, one being an arterial road. So if their front yard is not facing an arterial road, I would then have the authority to give them the ability to do a taller fence than that, what acts as their side or rear yard.
Any discussion from the commissioners? Comments? Seeing that there are none, this is an action item. Do we have a recommendation or a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the proposed text amendment, 2025-R-01.
Is there a second?
Second.
So seeing that that's before us, any other discussion? There's a recommendation, 2025R-01, proposed text amendment, arterial frontage fences as written and done, that it goes with a positive recommendation. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes to move forward.
Thank you very much.
Let's go to the next one. It's 2025-R-02, proposed text amendment, new buffer yard standards.
Okay, now this is a much bigger one, and I think you guys have all had a chance to go through it. So our buffer ordinance was put in place over 10 years ago, and we've learned a lot in that time frame. And as we're having more developments kind of intermingling with higher density products next to residential, what we call traditional neighborhoods, we felt that we need a bigger buffer in certain situations. We've also modified, what the buffer entails and how it can be modified to take the proposed building's height into consideration, as well as the terrain of the properties that are being either buffered or buffered from. So this ordinance attempts to address the different types of developments we see coming and their interaction with the neighbors, as well as the terrain and the size of buildings that are coming in. I guess, does anyone have any specific questions? We've had a chance to go through it.
comments? I think you've done a good job. I'm just going to make a comment of listening to the feedback, listening to the residents, taking a look at existing neighborhoods, taking the ability to take what you have learned and give back to what the residents have asked for. And I want to thank you and commend you for your hard work into looking into that, to researching it, and to really, really listening to the residents in these neighborhoods.
Yeah. I think that once you have more real-world examples, so you've actually been involved and you can see where the flaws are, and we've had a lot of experience in the last 10 years, so I think that we're going to feel much more confident about this ordinance.
Thank you. So seeing that that's before us, this is an action item, do I have a motion?
A motion to have a positive recommendation for 2025-R-02 proposed text amendment regarding buffer yard standards as written.
Second.
There's a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there's none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? None. That carries. Okay, let's go through any advisory items.
What advisory?
Okay, any staff reports?
I'll chime in just for a second. I appreciate Tanya pointing out page 16 of the Clemson Next plan. I gave everyone a copy tonight. If you haven't read that, I do encourage that you look at it. Ms. Gantt told me the other day, I can't remember the exact number we spent on that, but it was towards $250,000 that the city spent to commission this study to tell us where we needed development to go. I'd also encourage you, when you're thinking through this process, is take the Clemson Next paper and hold it up to our current comp plan, which also tells you very similarly where development needs to go in the city of Clemson. I included a map also in some of those packets. I'm not sure if I got it for everyone, but there's a map in the back that shows one of the things that we've heard recently is about certain R12, R20 disappearing. That map, I had our GIS guy just tell me a percentage. And so 85, despite narratives and even driving around more than I would think, about 85% of the city is still single-family residential. Just keep that, just want to show it to you guys visually. Lastly, the comp plan that we're working on, our consultants are deep working through the elements right now. You will start to see probably in the next month or so drafts of that, and they'll come in at just, a chapter here, a chapter there, for you guys to start looking through. And then once we get a few comments on that, we'll bring them back in for another meeting with you guys before we have another public meeting on that. So there's a couple steps of that left, but it has been there's a lot of text in the current one and the one before that, so we're trying to whittle that down has been a task. And these guys, most of the onus has been on them, Art and Jacob also been working very hard on it. But that's all I've got. We've got, at council, we'll have the bonding ordinance first reading this time, as well as I did a change of we're matching our rental occupancy definition, the definition of occupant to the one that's in our zoning code, because our zoning code trumps our rental ordinance anyway, so we're making those match. We're slowly working towards clarity in the zoning code as well, and Jacob's been a big help in that, so.
Do we have any update on the Mercy Housing, the development on 93?
The update I have is that I missed a call from her today.
Okay.
And I'll let you know when I talk to her.
I mean, that's just kind of exciting, and I want it to happen, so.
It actually might have been Friday that I missed the call, so I'll put that on my agenda. I was at a conference, but I will definitely call her back and go from there. But you'll know that the engineer that was here this evening was also the one that was working with her from Kimley Horn. So my understanding from her was the zoning was a hurdle for certain, but then the real hurdle is working through that funding application. So they sounded like they go in a room and lock themselves in there for a month to fill out that paperwork to try and get that stuff cranked out. So we're hopeful. Based on what she shared with me, the site itself and the difficulties with the site, actually, the more difficult site is, it gives them more credibility to actually get the funding. So they seemed hopeful. It has the transmission line and 100 other things. So they were hopeful that it could be accomplished. And Clemson hasn't received, the city of Clemson hasn't received an allocation from that fund in a while, so, or maybe ever, so we're hopeful.
And that was approved by city council?
It was,
Fine.
yes, yep, unanimously.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, planning commission representation at city council.
If you want to come and watch
I'll be
us
there.
change definitions, you're more than welcome. But
I'll be there.
Brian was out one recently to watch us change the bond stuff, and we appreciate it. I mean, anytime you guys want to come, it's always helpful if there's a planning thing on the agenda to see that you guys are there to support. Not that they don't trust Jacob or Art and I or whoever's up there, but it's always good to see you guys in the crowd.
So, thank you very much. Seeing that, is there a motion on the table to adjourn?
Do we have any workshops?
No workshops at this point. We had the workshop tonight. I think they heard some of that. I think we'll get a lot of feedback from the public when we host that, which I'm excited about. Hopefully we set out that we really want them to listen to what the public has to say. I appreciate y'all's comments, and I would encourage everybody to look at where the growth needs to happen in Clemson next. That Tanya was looking through that lens. It's an exciting time. I appreciate all of you who are here and who are involved in the process. I appreciate everybody being involved. Remember, we're a volunteer committee. We are adjunct and recommend, and there's a whole nother process to go through once it goes to city council. But thank y'all. Is there any motion on the table?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Any second?
No second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.